Listen, something so strange just happened with Bitcoin over this last cycle. It's actually been a couple of months now since this has been happening, and you need to pay attention. Now, I want to make this clear. I am not a financial advisor. I'm also not someone that typically holds any large amount of Bitcoin, okay? At any given time, Bitcoin may be like 1% of my portfolio or something like that because crypto is so volatile. But understanding the up and coming moves that crypto coins are going to make, like XRP, like XLM, can position you for profits in the next decade to come. But it's all about understanding the broad view. That's what we call fundamental analysis, looking at what these companies provide, what they produce, where their geography is, where they're going to be used, and whether they're going to be circulated across the world or not. Now, I want to let you know something that most people don't understand. Most people don't know that China has actually banned Bitcoin in their country. Like, if you're a crypto trader and you trade Bitcoin, there are countries on this side of the world that will flat out deny your residence. They don't want to have anything to do with you because crypto is so risky. Like, we can see what's happening with the Epstein files. And if you were not looking at the Epstein files, actually Epstein was the one who started investing heavily behind the scenes in Bitcoin and saying that he did not want to see XRP rise. And you should start to question, why is that? Why would such an evil man be behind specifically Bitcoin, but then against XRP? Let's break it down together in this video. So, Bitcoin collapsing is not simply just about the price. Bitcoin has long functioned as the first decentralized protest asset. It rises when inflation fears increase, central banks overreach, sovereign currencies weaken, and confidence in institutions decline. But we have seen all of those factors happen just within the last few months, and instead, we did not see Bitcoin recover the way that a lot of us thought that it would in October, November, December of this year. Instead, it took an opposite trajectory, which is why financial advisors, especially in America, some in Europe as well, they're split 50-50. Some believe that this is actually the death of Bitcoin. Like, they're saying, hey, it has plunged literally 50% in the last couple of months and it may not recover. While others say, you know what, it is going to recover and it's going to be at new all-time highs. But I want you to pay attention to the Clarity Act, to the Genius Act, to what's being processed behind the scenes or what is being delayed behind the scenes, because whether you believe in Bitcoin, XRP, whatever crypto or not, it's really about if the institutions allow them to increase. Because let's be honest, people like President Donald Trump, people like the deceased Epstein, these were people behind some of these government initiatives, some of these Bitcoins going into the worldwide view, but they said that they did not Donald Trump, but Jeffrey Epstein, said that he did not want to see XRP rise because essentially it would be too much of a risk to the US dollar, to the US system, because XRP itself is about cross-border payments, which is exactly why I believe it will rise from just a fundamental perspective. XRP is positioned perfectly for the World War III era, because World War III is all about the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, wanting to detach from the US dollar. If you are unaware, Japan has actually passed a law through their government that they will be using XRP. There are a lot of companies and countries across the world that have quietly passed laws stating that they are going to be the ones to use XRP. Now, this doesn't reach headlines. People don't really talk about this because it's the quiet new Bitcoin that people don't really know about yet, but here on this channel, you know. Now, for XRP rising so much, and it's at a very low level, it's about $1 and a couple of cents. So when you invest in XRP at this base level, it can really exceed percentages. You can get 10% return, 15, 20% return in such a short amount of time. I looked at our investment account and I was like, great, all of our investments in gold, oil, XRP, everything is steadily increasing just in the last week. And I found that to be so interesting in the midst of Bitcoin doing this wild up, down, up, down. This is why traditionally a lot of finance advisors, especially the older ones, will tell you just go with the stock, go with a VOO, that's a great ETF that you can use. Go with something else that's within the Vanguard scheme of different ETFs and stock options. You could even in previous times hold SoFi. SoFi is not the best hold right now because SoFi has plunged so much. So you really do want to understand the market before you get in it, which is why we like to invest our money, the huge bulk of our money, 50% of our money, in safe haven resources like gold, like oil, like things people are actually going to be exchanging when people don't trust crypto and don't trust retail. But you can still have that 5 to 10% exposure if you like in one of these cryptos that you trust and you believe in, because I do think that's important. You're not going to want to invest in something that you're just like, you see everybody doing it, but you don't know why. And then you look at the behind the scenes and you're like, I actually don't support this movement. I don't support what this company or what this crypto stands for. And so that's something that you want to be aware of as well, because we are all about ethical finance, ethical marketing all around here. In fact, I just realized something, I forgot to tell you about this video that I recorded 2 days ago. It's about my finance and my marketing clients and e-commerce clients making $31.9 million to date in revenue from the email marketing strategies that I create for them. You should go watch the video down below or just go to our channel and binge the Introvert Marketer podcast. You're going to absolutely love it as an entrepreneur. Now we have to talk about the institutional trust variable. People rarely even understand what this means, but let's zoom out just for a moment. Because when legal documents resurface, when government credibility is questioned the way America's government ability is being questioned right now across the world, and elite networks are debating publicly, even if nothing new is confirmed, perception across the world changes, specifically as it relates to Bitcoin and some of these companies that have housed people that are in some of these files and some of the darker stuff that's been happening in America that now the entire world gets to see. Public perception truly matters. And I want you to also think about this like a business owner, like an entrepreneur. If public perception of a business is tarnished, then people are not going to trust that brand. It's the same thing with crypto. It's the same thing with XRP, Bitcoin, gold, oil, silver, whatever you invest in. If there is something shisty behind the scenes going on, then people are going to withdraw that trust. And trust is really the currency that's needed in the 2026 to 2030 economy, because in the age of AI, people don't trust anything anymore. So they really need to understand the behind the scenes, the tactical, what's going on, why are we doing this, who has invested in this before, and then the people of the world get to choose, okay, do we support America in this initiative? So when this public perception declines and weakens, capital searches for hard assets, gold, silver, copper, portable assets, things that they can just take with them, cross-border assets like XRP, where it's like, hey, this is literally going to be a cross-border payment system in the next 5 to 10 years. So that is really the new opportunity there, because relocation is a trust decision. You move capital where you trust governance, you move residence where you trust stability, and you move savings when you trust enforceability. Crypto volatility inside a global trust shift is not noise. It is pre-positioning for a strategic new type of world. I just think back to everything that's happening with America right now. And Americans who are not outside of America may not understand. It doesn't matter if you're an American in Europe, if you're in Asia, if you're in Africa, if you're in Australia, you understand that consumer trust of the American government and of the way that Americans run society is at an all-time low. People are really side-eyeing Americans. They're side-eyeing and saying, is everybody like Epstein? Is everybody like President Donald Trump? Is everybody like those ICE agents that they're putting in to get into people's houses? Like, is this how Americans really are? Because something bigger is shifting. And this moment feels less like a crash and more like a sorting. So investors are wondering what survives regulatory tightening, what survives political shock, what survives global liquidity contraction. Bitcoin still represents sovereign resistance, but XRP, it represents network integration across the globe. In a world that may be consolidating control rather than decentralizing it, infrastructure tokens often receive attention again, not hype, but true structure. But let's talk about why this matters for you as an expat, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that has a family and wants to kind of store things in different places. Number one, if you live abroad, you're already holding assets that function across borders. So you're already into international finance accounts. You already start to understand which accounts, which banks, and which region are going to be best for you as an American, as a Canadian, as somebody that's from the UK. And so this news is not just about buy the dip. It's really about where is trust flowing? Where is regulation tightening? Where are payment rails strengthening? And what is institutional cooperation deepening? Capital does not ask moral questions. It asks survivability questions. If Bitcoin is pulling back while XRP strengthens and stabilizes, even if it's just a couple of cents, because again, XRP is very, 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 very cheap, super, super cheap and affordable because it has not been put on the front sphere yet the way that Bitcoin has. This is a powerful macro signal, and it's a fork in the road, just like in 2020. But liquidity this time is tighter. Debt loads are way heavier for America. America passed $38 trillion in debt. If you were somebody that pays attention to international markets like we do, we invest pretty heavily as well into the DXJ, which is actually the Japanese hedge fund, okay? And they have been up 7% just in the last week because America's economy and America's government have been falling, which has allowed Japan to come up. And you should also understand Japan holds a lot of American debt, so they can kind of pull those strings, and their economy is going to increase while America's economy and government bonds go down. Don't forget the fundamental fact that the EU is talking about dropping US government bonds. Understand that this really does represent the fall of a lot of these large American corporations, or at least a drawback to where you want to understand how to move your money and have your money positioned. But again, we are not financial advisors on this channel. This is not legal or finance advice. You need to do your own research, and that's what we help our clients with. Understanding the research behind the decisions you make so that you then feel more confident in your decisions. So you can look at your investing app and say, okay, this is working out. This is perfect. I love this for us. We're up 7%. We're up 35%. When most other stocks are not even performing at that level at all, and they're plummeting and bottoming out. Listen, expats, founders, global executives, people who look at capital and look at clarity, they understand and they rarely panic. Instead, people like us, we are prepared and preparing for the times that are coming ahead. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you in the next video. Let me know your biggest takeaway. Check out the links in the description if you'd like to speak to my husband one-on-one. Check out the links in the description if you'd like to learn more as an entrepreneur about our marketing agency. And if you'd like to understand gold as well, all those links are down there. Hit the like button, share this video, and I'll see you next time.